Well, gurgle, gurgle, splutter and cough. Yes, we're underwater over here in Britain.
Oh my.
Yes. But nevertheless, the show must go on. So, everybody, put the old underwater mask on and the snorkel and everything, and clear my mouth, stick a microphone down my throat, and maybe you can hear me properly. Yes, you can. No, I'm pleased to
Mm.
say. Okay, welcome everybody to this week's edition of Metaworld News. These are going to be our headlines for the week ending. Yeah, 16th of February, 2020. Yes, you can't
Excellent.
go wrong with that one. Yes,
Nope.
you got it right. We've got it right. And yeah, February already. Well, it was February already last week. It'd be March soon.
Oh,
It will still be underwater, no doubt. But never mind. Never mind. Oh, and April is April showers, so we'll still
right.
be underwater then. Right. So in
Right.
4 months' time, maybe I'll be coming up to dry land again. What's that movie they made where the world is all sunk and
Oh, day after
is it
tomorrow?
Kevin
Oh,
Costner or
Waterworld.
somebody's?
Right.
Yeah, pretty awful movie, but
Pretty
the
awful.
idea was yeah. Well, it was a little patch of green left somewhere in the world. And eventually, after
Yeah.
2.5 hours of tedium, he found it.
Yep.
Not much else happened really.
And it
Right,
was in Hawaii, so there. Great.
right, okay. Well, talking about not much else happened, that is far from the case with the news this week. There's a lot of it. Anyway, I forgot to introduce myself, didn't I? Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of malicious intent. Yeah,
Oh, oh.
that's one for James because I was telling him something earlier. Right.
Dancing with
Sorry,
the
I've lost.
Devil.
Yes,
Song for the
indeed.
devil. Right.
Stick a knife in my heart and spill it all over the stage. Would it be enough for you?
Ugh,
Nah.
too much. Too
This is
much.
a Metaworld news, not Rolling Stone show. Right. Um, now I've forgotten what I'm doing. Yes, that's not good. Yes, I'm Mal Burns. Mal and Burns. But you can squash me together to create Mal Burns, Malburns, all one word because that's my handle at Twitter, twitter.com/Mal Burns. I've got another handle there, we've got another handle there, which is twitter.com/MetaWorld News, all one word after this show. And as well as being Mark Burns here, I'm joined by James Atloud at the side of me, and he's pressing knobs and controlling all our cameras and stuff like that, and even showing you my desktop as I blabber away. So welcome, James.
Oh, thank you, Mal. I'm so happy to be here. It's a good
Wonderful. I'm
time.
glad you
Yep.
are. I'm glad you are. It'd be awfully tedious dragging you here every week if you weren't happy.
That's right.
Right.
Oh, I've got to do that show again. Oh, no.
Yes, I know. I'm the one who's moaning that I've got to do my show again.
Oh, no.
Well, some days it gets round to it, I think, oh, crumbs, it's another Sunday. I've got to do this. Load all my links and everything else. Anyway, talking of links, we're going to move into some of those headlines. And they're pretty much all the links to each thing is available on that stream at twitter.com/malbones if you want it. I'll be giving out some as we go, but you know what long O's are like, etc., etc. Okay, I am starting off with something fairly recent because dated February the 10th, which is 6 days ago. Have I got this right? Oh no, this is from the beginning of the week. Right, I don't know whether I'm coming or going today.
Mm.
The problem is, I'm not just going from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. This week, you see, I have to swim, and I'm not used to swimming down the days. Right, I better shut up.
Goodness.
Forget prisons. The future punishment will be virtual. This is interesting. This is a post at Wired. I'm reading it at wired.co.uk. I presume it's at Wirecom as well. Um, There is a book, is it Halting State or one of the books concerning virtual worlds that um, figures a sort of adventure. It's a very good book, actually. I should have pulled it out before we came on air. Um, Basically, where in the future, prisoners are sort of put, like in the Matrix, they're put in pods and they're fed and stuff like that. And they're all cool bubbles coming out of James's. You clever sod. I need one of them. Sorry, those of you who are watching will have noticed that James is planning in advance with his underwater kit.
Yep, yep.
I'm the one who's all
Just
sodden and
just trying to get topical, right?
yeah, why not? Yeah, I should have been. Oh, never mind, never mind. Okay, you can give me one later. Okay, so I need it. I'll probably need it next week anyway.
Right.
Right, sorry. Back to the prisons. Yes. Well, hopefully it'll be a waterproof pod they put you in. But they wire you up to be fed and breathing and stuff like that, and they put you in virtual reality. And the idea is, well, in the novel I read, somebody would actually be in a virtual reality scenario for 2 years or 5 years, or depending on their prison sentence and stuff. But they weren't allowed to just have a happy old so and so like watching TV in prison. No, no, they were actually put in environments that were meant to be rehab environments. So they had to survive a bit like a game, and no, learn stuff and get by and stuff. Well, anyway, it's a very real possibility in the future. I mean, you can't imagine dumping somebody in, say, Second Life. Um, and keeping him in prison for 5 years, locked in Second Life.
Mm.
Well, that's pretty much like being in a prison anyway. It's a walled garden for one thing. Um, the fidelity is just not there. But at some point in the future, when we have that uncanny valley, the actual the reality, where it looks seamlessly real. Then you can very well imagine, the business being used for that. This article actually simply points out that jails don't work, and that's true in many ways. Firstly, they cost a lot of money. Sort of 10 people can survive for a week on what it costs to keep a prisoner in the UK in jail for a day, I think. It's just
Mm-hmm.
daft. And also, it's fairly well known that when you put people in prisons, they are basically, especially first-time people, they're mixing with criminals, obviously, because everybody in prison is a criminal of some sort, and far from learning their sort of lesson and getting a kick in the arse, but most of them come out with criminal tendencies because they've been socializing with but more dedicated criminals, if that's the word, for some months or years or whatever it is. So, not exclusively, of course, but the general consensus is they cost far too much and they don't do the job. And also, if you add into that fact that there's a load of people in prison for laws that really just don't make any sense to have been broken, yeah, the world is a very funny place. Right. So maybe they will, maybe they won't. Tom Gash writes this article. Uh, Cute little picture there, of course, and just says, "Will it work?" Or won't it? Virtual prisons will cost much less than prisons do at the moment, like £9 a day. Um, and oh yeah, that includes GPS. So maybe they won't actually be physically. Maybe they'll just be confined to home or something. Um, in 2020, virtual prisons will continue to be constructed. Um, Right, I didn't know they were actually constructing them. I would not have thought they were good enough yet. But there we go. There we go.
Mm.
That article you can find at wired.com. And quickly moving on. Yeah. Here's another good headline. Your brain isn't the same in virtual reality as it is in the real world. No, well, it's not, is it? Is it better? Is it worse? Are we totally indifferent? Probably. VR is widely used to study the brain, but it isn't the same as the real life. This has real world consequences. Dori, forget her second name, neuroscientist from the University of Sussex. It's not, I think that's a Dutch name. It's certainly not English, but she's at an English university, so fair enough. Um, Not for video games. Researchers use it to study brains of all kinds of animals, bees, fish, rats, and of course, that inevitable animal, humans. Sadly, this does not mean the bees have a tiny VR headset. Instead, the setup either consists of normal computer screen surrounding the subject or special cylindrical screen, blah, blah, blah. And she talks about neuroscience and everything else. And yeah, I'm not going to read it out to you. Oh, yay, yay! Is it a rat or is it a mouse? I don't know.
Oh,
It's
mousy, I
it's
think.
in virtual. I think that's a mouse, isn't
Or is it
it?
a squirrel?
Yes.
I think it's a mouse.
Oh yeah, no, it's a mouse actually. The caption underneath says VR cannot replicate how mice rely on their whiskers. Well, yeah, I know.
Okay,
I
okay.
haven't got any weird. Well, I've got a sort of beard, but it's not
No, I'll
flexible.
grant
Not
them that.
flexible. Yeah, technically, if I got a beard in virtuality and it's a proper beard that can respond to the winds, then it's tactile. It's yeah. Anyway, it's oh, humans do have whiskers of sorts if they want them. Yeah. Okay. So whiskers might be a problem apparently. So read more about that. At right. Here's the address you're going to need. It's Massive Science is the name of the site, but the URL is massive SCI. So MASSIVESCI.com. And the article was on February the 9th. So presumably you can find it from the homepage. If not, of course, go to my Twitter feed and click through. Right. Right. This is another one from about Monday. Now, this is a good one. Monday the 17th. Oh, this is one of those sites that shows you the current date, regardless of now. February the 5th is when the article came out. Okay, this is all about education, bringing learning to life. And it's from a site called the Straits Times, I think. It's actually an easy URL to remember anyway. It's NST, that's three letters, .com.
Hmm,
And it's in their education section. And I think New Straits or whatever it is, maybe used to oh right, I think it's close to the article is actually to do with the University of Malaya's Faculty of Education. Students who've never been in a mangrove swamp may find it hard to imagine what it's like to be there. And although videos, etc., are helpful, they're not very effective. Wouldn't it be better chance if you had a chance to go to the Anglo-Stan? Sorry, am I slurring today? Um, you get the idea. It's the usual virtuality thing of it can be done better by going there, and you can go there because it's possible in virtuality. Um, as you can see, the lady in the illustration is, oh, there we are, New Straits Times, is stuck in one of the obligatory headsets. I'm not sure what headset that is. The photo doesn't go up high enough to show me what's sticking out the top. She's got a leap motion on the front of it.
yeah, big cable coming out the top.
Maybe the cable, maybe it's an electricity cable coming out the top. But there's
Yeah.
another thing there's another thing there too. That might be the remote control that's coming. Who knows? Who cares? Okay. Anyway, this lady's I Malaya. I don't know. Obviously, a sort of probably Islamic country or something, judging from her clothing. Um, oh yes. Um, anatomy learning. Nothing like virtuality to get a bit of blood and guts. And yes, more bridges. Quite a long article about that anyway. So if you're interested in education, this is bringing learning to life, and you'll find that at nst.com. And yeah, education is going to be a bit of a thing as we go along today,
Okay.
but I'll leave it till we get there. Right, which won't be long now. Okay, this is a site called medscape.com, medscape.com. Medical uses with VR again. This one particularly focuses on, how people can be distracted in VR to feel pain less or maybe not even at all. In fact, distraction here is not really what it is. It's talking about women in labour. you're giving birth, which is not exactly a pain-free experience. So they can wear special things in VR headsets to ease pain. That should not be misread as sport VR. They're not talking about doing any sports in VR. Just environments that cancel out pain. So read about that at medscape.com. Always plenty of articles on this sort of thing too in the out of home um, VR. Oh, more education, I suppose. Why VR is the perfect education tool? Yes, well, I'm sure some people won't agree, but I'm prepared to concur for the moment. Um, the site is embryonic, I suppose, but spelt weirdly. MBRYONIC.com. And then slash the section is called VR education.
Hmm.
That you probably won't necessarily need that. And yep, more about why it is good for VR. Already popular in the US and UK. Researchers at Warwick University have been finding things which are mentioned in this article, obviously. And they cover Unimmersive, which is a university, well, university immersive is sort of the idea there, I guess. And with their VR classrooms, some videos you can watch of the stuff, of course, and increasing engagement to gamification and talk about a site called Deliver It. Yes, usual stuff. So, as I said, embryonic.com, MBRYONIC. Basically, the only thing missing there is an E at the beginning, but you know, I guess the pronunciation is going to have to be the same. Okay, moving on. Right, we are now at a regular site called VR Focus, and the headline here is Places. It's a virtual reality festival. It's been happening before, and it's happening again. It's in Germany,
Hmm.
and this is going to be their second year. They've got a call for participation. And well, if you fancy a trip to Germany or live in Germany, then you may well be interested in this. Go for the article. You want to go to vrfocus.com. That's the letters VR and then FOCUS, but all one word, of course, .com, and you will find the information you need for German event. Right, this is campustechnology.com. That's fairly easy to. It's basically one word, campus technology, or rather two words squeezed into one. .com. Virtual reality trends include 3D audio, more AI, and conversational platforms. This is looking at trends, basically. A new report covering such trends has suggested that three-dimensional audio will begin appearing along with conventional platforms and the increased use of artificial intelligences. According to Virtual Reality Thematic Research, I will open that in a new tab just in case there's anything spectacular to see. I don't think there was, but anyway, yeah, it's got a pretty good summary there. The complete report, by the way, here you are at the bottom. Complete report is 1,950 US dollars from a
Oof.
company called Global Data. Oh, I mean, it better be a bloody good report at that price. They must have done their, hope they've done their work for it. And yeah, this is synopsis overview. Nothing, no cheating, no free way of
No
reading it, I'm
freeway.
afraid. So yeah, pricing single user site. God, they must be rich. I don't know how they
Yeah.
get away with it. In fact, the more I think of it, I really shouldn't have PR'd them.
It was
By
like that XR conference in London in April. That looked
yeah,
interesting to me, but the lowest price I could find was $1,000 to attend. So
mm.
it's for industry leaders. It says. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of these things are actually absolute crap. You know, they're really run of the mill layman stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
by charging an absolute fortune and pitching them as industry leaders, they just get a load of CEOs from what I call dumb companies. Middle.
Oh.
They got plenty of money to spend on going to these things, but they're sort of CEOs who are kind of paper pushing management, or sort of they don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, about things. So they come along to find out about VR, and they get told something you read on a one-page website. They're not all rackets, but the hell of a lot of them are. Okay, anyway, so campustechnology.com, and the summary there is quite a lot of the summary there to read, but it's obviously not the actual um, paper, even if you wanted it. Let's
Hmm.
move on. Too much PR for greedy people at the moment. Right, one social norms, 9 steps to building a strong culture, part 5. Oh, this is a Medium. It's a series by Jessica Outlaw, who's very big on
Hmm.
covering social VR. And fifth of a series of blog posts on how to create and influence the culture of online platforms, specifically social VR. And uh, everything is really clear cut illustration, schematic stuff here. But for anybody interested, good little read. She's great, great journalist and writer, and there's a whole lot of it, a whole lot of it. Right. So that is at medium.com, and you'll have to. You can look up Jessica Outlaw is probably the easiest way of getting there, and then look at it. That will probably be top of her latest articles, so to speak. Right, moving on. Back to VR focus. 4 pragmatic ways immersive healthcare can help alleviate the coronavirus outbreak. Um, there's a load of stuff. There's actually well, I don't know, he's well known or not. He's made a complete mess of it this week. There's a blogger whose name I'm not even going to mention who never seems to know whether he's reporting on VR or um, social worlds or Second Life or one day he's got a headline article where he's hunting for a virtual penis, and the next day he's trying to talk about a new very upmarket platform, and during the week he managed to um, annoy the whole planet by reporting what was obviously some fake news he'd been given about Linden Lab. And Linden Lab were, needless to say, not very happy. And I think it was midweek. He said, "Right, this blog's gone. I'm fed up. One day it's an apology, then he says he's gone. Next day it's back again."
Hmm.
Inconsistency, and he is actually blocked from all my feeds now, and I no longer subscribe to his blog anyway because it's too much of a mixture. It doesn't focus on any given theme, which is not helpful for me. Anyway, that's beside the point. That's beside the point. But he did for a couple of weeks get into this thing of a daily coronavirus sort of thing, and to read it, what was this virtual reality guy been talking about? Or, way out of his depth on, something. He was American too. It's not as though he lived in China.
Hmm.
However, this, however, is Dr. Sana Free discussing how VR and AR can be used against the recent outbreak. Obviously, if you what do you mean? The favourite thing I've been hearing on the news this week has been people who've been choosing to, I believe the expression is self isolate as opposed to self medicate. It's got a good turn of phrase there. But I mean, obviously, if you choose to self isolate, until the virus has gone away, then you could be spending a couple of months at home, not going out. So virtual reality, as a way of getting together with your work colleagues and stuff, full immersion and all that, obviously a very good thing. And uh, yeah, various comments on immersive healthcare technologies, and I did actually notice it's not here; it was somewhere else actually. Um, that there is actually a map online. It starts as a straight 2D map of the spread of the coronavirus, but you can actually go into the map in kind of 3D, and it's not a 3D Google Earth type thing. It's the 3D is actually shows you the flow, of where the virus is spread and how kind of thing. So it's a diagrammatic, but it's 3D, and so it's a virtual reality construct, which before virtual reality you couldn't have made it if you see what I mean. Well, it's CAD, I suppose. There. Never mind. Talking too much, talking too much. Sticking to the news here. Okay, this is vrfocus.com if you want to learn a bit more about four pragmatic ways immersion can help with that outbreak. Right, VR Focus again. Oh, looks like I got two of the same
Looks
up there.
similar. Yep.
Right, this is a site called meetinvr.net. It's Meet in VR, which sounds clear enough, except that all three words are squashed together as one, and it looks like it looks like a child's game or something because it said Meet in VR. But never mind. MEETINVR, all squashed together .net. And this that's an illustration of what they're saying. Actually, it doesn't really have a title, this particular one, unless let me just no, it hasn't got a title there. Oh yeah, the social value of VR. Okay. Some of these sites don't work very well under dark mode. They hide
Oh, sure.
part of the words. Fortunately, in Opera, I can toggle it. Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's just looking at no secret. The VR is great for empathy. Blah blah blah, and about what it can afford. Virtual world, real emotions. Um, I always laugh when I see that very super respectably dressed people with some zany pose while they're working. They're in a headset, but never mind. Invoke empathy, fight racial bias, and improve social cognition. Blah blah blah, and always a good to have a illustration there. Um, Introducing social VR, forming relationships in the virtual world. There's really quite a lot to go through on this particular site, even though Meet in VR is actually a platform. In other words, um, that is not
That's what I
Altspace.
was wondering. Yeah.
That's actually a platform called Meet in VR. Um, and yeah, it looks like this is another one with only half semi-transparent arms, and
Yep. Yep.
they had nowhere knowing where they got anything under their waist. Well, that guy's got barely anything under his neck, by the look of it. So not very fully fleshed out. But if it does the job, it does the job, and I'll be back to that in a minute. Right. So
Ah, okay.
find that at meetinvr.net. Right, this is a site called Middle East Eye. Again, all squashed together in one word. You can see it as three words there, Middle East Eye, but the website is three words squashed together. And it's in, well, the subdirectory is Discover and then something about ancient sites. I guess you'd probably find it from the front page if you try enough. Or if in desperation you can actually go to this Twitter account called Malbirds, find the link and click on it, and it will take you right to the page. Anyway, back to archaeology and stuff I love actually. Um, Pure human genius, devastated ancient sites return to life in a VR exhibit. Some of the world's most cherished sites, from Mosul to Palermo, destroyed by war, have been brought to life in virtual reality at a new Washington DC exhibition. And that's the Tempel del Bell, which was destroyed by Islamic State as recently as 2015. It doesn't stop, does it? Um, yep. And Iraq's Mosul, that would have been destroyed in 2016. It's interesting, actually. I mean, you normally expect these to be things that have been buried and fallen apart over thousands of years, not just 2 years. Mosul again, they seem to be fond of Mosul here. Anyway, it's quite a long article with illustrations and everything else like that. So the site is middleeasteye.net. Moving on.
Are those virtual reconstructions publicly available, or are they? Do you have to go somewhere to
Uh,
see them?
Kaput. Uh,
Oh, I just wondered if you recall.
no, we can't find. Um, they're at an exhibit in Washington D.C.
Oh, okay.
Brought to life in.
Into a museum. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, yes. You have to go to the museum. It doesn't. I mean, some of these things can actually. Sometimes museums put these things online.
Yeah.
It looks to me like this is promoting the museum thing.
Hmm.
Well, it's odd. It's a Middle Eastern, or maybe a Middle East Eye, maybe an American publication. So they're um, yeah, I mean, some of these museums do actually put stuff online maybe after they've got all the mileage they want from paying customers and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Yep.
So anyway, now we're at the Huffington Post. It's actually Huffington Post, or one word, of course, .co.uk. It may be in other editions. Doctors using virtual reality to help patients deal with pain. And interestingly, I think this is another site that doesn't play nicely with dark mode. No, it doesn't, does it? Right, okay, there we are, a bit more picturesque. Um, Pilot program using VR technology shows promising results for managing pain without medication. Well, we covered the women in labour and stuff early. Um, this is more general sickle cell disease, backstabbing sensations, all this, which we, well, it goes on about. Basically, how VR can help with that. That's interesting. Pain in America is a nine-part series looking at some of the underlying causes of opioid addiction and how to treat pain. And this particular one is looking at VR as an alternative to opioids, really, is their thing there. And there's the whole series at the bottom there. You can go to the other parts of it too, but fairly long piece there on how virtual reality can help fight opioid abuse, I suppose is the word. Right, Oxford VR therapy. This is in the UK, Oxford University. Well, actually, it's not the university, I don't think. Oh, well, yeah, it is. Oxford VR therapy platform lands 10 million in investment. They're hoping to lead the way in automated VR therapy in the future, and it just got raised 10 million UK pounds to help achieve that goal. The company, which is a spin-off from Oxford University's Department of Psychiatry, they did their spinning off back in 2017, and this is a Series A round of blah blah blahs. Um, where are we? They want to accelerate evidence based and scalable automated VR therapy solutions and continue to expand treatment pipeline. Um, yeah, and obviously they've got obligatory videos showing what they're up to. Um, so again, we're at the intersection of health and VR. Awful lot of this stuff coming up of late. So a very promising intersection too. You know, it's
Hmm.
the intersection of strict commerce and VR is one thing, but health is, you know, it's like education. It's sort of plus points. Right. Um, this is AR Post. ARPOST.co. That is all there is to it. It's not capitals, it's all lowercase, ARPOST.co. Global Festival promises artistic VR experiences. And they're advertising a global VR art festival and tournament, which is just doing what I just said, encouraging artistic VR. Rethinking the arcade experience, coming to a city near you. So it's not apparently, it is a real world kind of event, but not strictly in one place. Yeah, launching February 13th. Hey, we're past that now.
Past that one.
At London, okay. In followed by events Canada, Connecticut, Los Angeles, South Carolina, New York City, Brooklyn, Seattle, and Boston. One in Shanghai in China, although it doesn't. I don't know when this was actually written. I would have thought that one might be in doubt. Shanghai. Oh, actually,
Right,
just
right.
it says I don't know where anywhere in the world seems to be in doubt these days. The in Europe the mobile technology conference has been cancelled, and it well, yeah,
Hmm.
affecting business a lot. Apple are in deep problems because they're relying on everything coming from China by and large, and two in Australia, one in Melbourne, one in Sydney, etc. So yeah, artistic VR. If you're interested in that, see if one of those cities is anywhere within reach of you, and find out more about it. ARpost, or one word, .co. Got to be the simplest deal I've ever read out here, I think.
Yeah, nice.
Right, moving on. Now we're back on Wired. Okay, mind control for the masses. And what's this? No implant needed. Ah, oh yes, yes, this is more like it. A wave of startups wants to make brain-computer interfaces accessible without needing surgery. Just strap on the device and think. Yee. Not press, think. Not click, think. I love it. That's rather nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No more clicking, just thinking. Just my cup of tea, in fact. Right. Where are we? Slush, the annual startup in Helsinki. Where are we? Okay. Okay, this is a general article, really. As not, I'm scanning through it, but I
I
just
just saw
realised.
NextMind. We covered that device not too long
Yeah,
ago. Yep.
yeah, yeah. Next mine too.
Yep.
Um, there, it's mentioning various things. It's not PR for any particular thing. Kuida is another one. Oh no, that's the guy behind Next Mind, isn't it? Um, Yeah, basically, it's all about sticking little rubber suction cups on your head most of the time, I think. But anyway, they are looking at the way the brain can be read without actually needing an implant or any sort of hardware drilled into your skull or anything like that.
Right.
Um, Rather
Like
unfortunate.
Elon Musk's project is to put, some kind of wires in your head, the Neuralink, if
Yeah,
you've tracked that one, but non-invasive would be better.
yeah, well, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
they talk about these like little chips that go in your wrist and stuff, and this
Mm-hmm.
was like or implanted RFID tags,
Right. Yep.
which would contain much the same information as a SIM card, from your phone, but
Mm-hmm.
smaller. Who knows what the future holds? Non-invasive certainly does sound better than anything unduly invasive, though I sometimes wonder. I mean, given the choice of having a tiny implant under the skin somewhere unobtrusive, and walking around with, I mean, forget headsets, suction cups over my head contraption, you know, you'd probably
Mm-hmm.
choose
Mm-hmm.
the, you probably actually consider the invasive one to be the least invasive in terms of the aesthetic. I don't
Yep.
know, but
Yep.
my feelings on motorcycle helmets. So,
I do indeed.
well, they can obviously make a motorcycle helmet that actually has suction cups built into the fabric and also has a VR viewer on the front and special bone conduction earphones buried in it too, and maybe a little widget around the nose, which is a sort of virtual aromatherapy thing,
Hmm.
and just a tiny little hole for you to put your a straw in so you can sip on your liquid food. Who knows? Is that dystopia?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is it? What's the phrase? Is this? Oh, it's the Queen song. Is this something or is it reality?
Oh, right.
So anyway, I was trying to paraphrase it for is this something or is this dystopia?
I
But
see. Yep.
anyway, enough of that. Enough of that. I can't think of the. Oh yeah, is this the real thing or
Yeah, the
no?
Bohemian
That's
Rhapsody.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Is this
Real
real
life.
real life,
Is
or
this
is
just
it? Oh, is
fantasy?
it just fantasy?
Yep.
Right. Anyway, we won't bother with that. Actually, go to
Phew.
Wired.com for that story, and I will now promptly move on. Right, virtual reality reporter here. So the site here is virtualrealityreporter.com. Virtual reality reporter is naturally three words, but also one word because they've done a squashing job on it. Of course they have. Right, VR for change. The Alcove Challenge, sponsored by ARP Innovation Labs. It's part of Games for Change. They're excited to announce a sort of special thing called VR for Change, and the challenge is to inspire people to think how games can enhance our collective quality of life, create new memories, and deepen intergenerational bonds with loved ones across the world. That's a pretty hefty remit, isn't it? So anyway, when you partake, you can submit, develop modules for considered for publications, etc., etc. Um, the presentation of the final works will be in New York City on July 14th this year, and one team one team only, by the look of it, will win a 10,000 US dollar cash prize. Um, and social isolation is is an epidemic impacting people of all ages. Among adults aged 45 and older, one in three are considered lonely. Due to its impact on stress hormones, loneliness has been shown to increase the risk of heart disease, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, dementia, and suicide attempts, and plus anything else they can think of to add to the list by the sound of it. In fact, studies have found that prolonged isolation can have the equivalent effects to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Ah, really? So if you're a smoker and you're lonely, you're in deep shit, aren't you? Okay. Okay. If you want to know more about that, go to virtualrealityreporter.com and you can follow the link to Games for Change and the bit about VR for Change competition or quest or
Just just
challenge.
just don't be
Challenge.
lonely when you go in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe if you go to that website, you won't feel lonely
Ah,
anymore. Maybe
perfect.
it's got a live chat and you can say, "Hi, I was lonely, but now I've discovered you. Please talk to me for the next 24 hours and I might go on your challenge," etc., etc. Moving on. Okay, this is an odd site. I don't think I've come across it before. It's actually called 4king.com. Now, that is the numeral 4 and then KING. So 4, the number, KING.com. And yeah, fucking great it is.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one, could
Mm-hmm.
I? Oh yeah, Four King. Look, here's the author, Four King Writers, so you can see how you're meant to price it up there.
Right.
Okay,
Be
five
careful.
reasons why VR is good for humans. Gosh golly, see, it's no good for animals. It's not that good for plants, and minerals are really having a hard time with it. But guess what? Humans, well, yeah, it seems to be good for humans. Yes. I haven't got a live audience here, so there's no.
Right. Right.
I get no reaction to this, do I?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, obviously, things it can help with, like dementia, army training, mental health, art, and social VR, of course, which is number one on the list. VR can be life changing. We've only looked at five reasons, but there's countless more examples. Rather than fighting it, we should embrace this technology and recognize the good it can actually do. VR is here to stay, da, 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 and it could change our lives in the most inspiring and meaningful ways. So says the person I'm reading.
Fair enough. Yep.
Moving on, that's at
Fine.
4king.com. Right, I think we had this last week, or it may not have been the same one, because this actually purports to be a press release from earlier this week. Panasonic developing the first HDR-capable UHD VR eyeglasses. HDR is high definition resolution.
High dynamic range, I
UHD,
thought.
oh fuck, it is yeah, sorry, high dynamic range,
Mm-hmm.
and UHD is ultra high definition.
Yep.
They've got a thing for everything, and they've also got one here called VR, which stands for virtuality. Would you've guessed it right? They're all for explaining themselves at least.
No lack
Right.
of acronyms in our
The thing is, I
industry.
love that. You know, it looks good. It's got the headphones
Yeah.
and the type of headphones I would want. The effectively the thing holding the glasses on is going to ensure that those headphones don't fall off, and they really aren't much more than goggles.
Mm-hmm.
And the main selling point on these is they're made out of extremely lightweight materials. So despite, even if, I mean, that is not what I call bulky compared with a lot of headsets around, but even if you feel that those may look a bit bulky, they're apparently so lightweight that it is just it's just the same as putting on a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
Um, they're anticipating fully fledged commercial services for 5G systems, and the demand for VR glasses or something similar for VR sports viewing, virtual travel experiences, etc., is going to be high. And conventional VR glasses with high quality images and sound highly immersive, but they tend to be big in size and requires users to strap them to their head with a headband, which could, I would argue, does create wearer discomfort. And so, Panasonic have developed a high-performance display in conjunction with all their trademark partners, by the look of it, and using some of the sound technology video technology they use in TVs and Blu-ray players that they innovated. Um, these technologies help Panasonic achieve a compact and lightweight VR glasses offering high quality images and optimal sound that deliver realistic sensation, drawing the user into the images projected before their eyes while in the comfort of wearing normal eyeglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And then tech specs. So you will find that virtualrealityreporter.com. I'm quite sure if you go to Panasonic's main site, there'll be some press releases about it or something buried there. But if you just want the little review here, or well, I dare to say it's not really a review. I suspect it's just a reprinting of a press release. But interesting information, especially as I like the product. So virtualityreporter.com is where you want to go for more of that. Right. Better storytelling could make some VR users less queasy. Yes, love that word, queasy. This site is inverse.com. That's inverse.com, and it's in a section called Innovation. This will be. Am I going backwards or forwards here? I can't remember. Like I said the other day, I'm just swimming this week. Right. Um, you don't need much gaming experience to begin with, etc. International Journal of Human Computer Studies did what you might guess a study. And there we are. Science Direct. Right. Narrative and gaming experience to interact with presence and cyber sickness in virtual reality. All you're going to get there is an abstract, I suspect. Yeah. So no free reads there. Um, right. Okay. It's really a summary of um, of this, and obviously technology comes into it. I mean, some headsets and cheap VR kit makes it a bit queasy and stuff anyway. So the better the kit, the better. But they're also pointing out here that storytelling itself, things the things you're required to do while you're wearing a VR headset often goes a long way to making it more comfortable. In other words, if it's well thought out and isn't a too jarring experience, then you're not going to feel as queasy as if it is a jarring experience, as you, um, etc., 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 really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, okay, let me put another way. That's inverse.com is the site you want there. Right, and forgive me when I just guzzle some of my cold coffee.
Mm-hmm. You have to stay hydrated.
Gurgle, gurgle,
Even
gurgle,
even
gurgle.
even in a flooding city, you need to stay
I
hydrated.
was, I was just, I was just going to say, the issue of hydration is not too much of a problem over
Not a
here at the moment.
concern this week. No. Goodness.
Oh dear. Medical triage, deactivating landmines. Now you can train in VR. Yeah, firefighters, airline pilots were the original simulators, weren't they? If the job is too dangerous to be for sympathetic if you're training for something that's dangerous, there was a time when you would eventually have to take your first step in a dangerous environment. And still is the case in some ways, but in many cases you can take those first steps and indeed the first 20 steps using virtuality now. So there's no actual danger to you, even though the simulation will be realistic enough to, you know, kill you as you fall off a cliff, except it won't kill you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're deactivating landmines, fighting fires, climbing big, steep, inaccessible cliffs or whatever. There's a place for virtuality in all this, and this one um, is looking at on-the-job training being a major problem when it comes to dirty and dangerous jobs, and deactivating landmines is an example. But more importantly, they're asking the question: is VR adequate? And there again, we're probably talking about the state of the now. Arguably, it probably isn't adequate now for some things. You can practice routines, and there's a hospital in London here that's actually got a wing in Second Life, where it's not open to the public except a special tour, but their surgeons train there, and it's rudimentary, almost cartoony, but it doesn't matter that it's not photorealistic because they're not training the intricacies of moving a bit of our blood and guts, a couple of millimeters to the left and sewing us up again. They're actually just looking at the routine of what kit they need and where it is and how to use it and stuff. Um, so obviously, army, military use VR an awful lot for training. When it comes to Air Force, of course, they come the whole hog. They just put you in VR and link you up to a drone, and you don't need airline pilots anymore. Just slaughter millions of people from afar. But is virtual reality actually in a state yet where it is really useful for some of these things? And I think the answer is probably no, it's not for some
Hmm.
things, but yes, it
Yes, it
is
is
for
for some
others.
things, right?
Yeah. Anyway, that's the question they ask here, and it's the site I'm on is Z. Well, it depends. We say Z in Britain, but I know in America you say Z, so it's ZDNet. Z or Z, whatever, your choice. ZDNET.com.
And of course, that's a shortening of Ziff Davis. Do you remember that
Indeed, it
organization?
is. Yes,
Right, right.
indeed. They used to be. Indeed, they did. In
They
fact,
used to
yes,
use
it
their
used to
actual
be.
names,
They
right?
used their actual. Yeah, they didn't do it anymore.
Nope.
Which is, I mean, probably they have no use for their actual names, as long as people
Ah, right.
recognise their icon or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about this
The
today.
brand.
I'm not going to do a rabbit hole here, but I was just thinking. You've got Amazon Music, Apple Music, you've got Spotify, you've got loads of other ones online and stuff, and nobody can afford to. They're all subscription portals now, and you can't subscribe to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with music, I'm happy with Spotify. There's barely, I've almost all my albums in my collection of CDs and audio tapes for that matter are available on Spotify, so I don't need the real thing anymore. But occasionally there'll be a few, I go to the shelf and I have to pick something out because they haven't got it. But, it doesn't really matter whether I have Amazon, Apple, or whatever if they've all got huge catalogs. But when it comes to things like movies and stuff, it really is becoming a bit insane because what you want is a season ticket, an online season ticket to the equivalent of your local cinema, where you can book films and watch them for a price and so many a month and stuff like that. You can't actually subscribe to everything available, like your Hulus and your Disneys and your Apple TV and your Netflix and everything else. If just to get the whole range of programming available, um, and I can't see how these people are going to go too far. I mean, you're talking about what Apple are doing with Apple TV, for example. They're no more than a production company. There are loads of companies that are doing exactly the same thing that simply provide programs to the likes of the BBC or the broadcaster. None of those production companies would dream of setting up an app of their own, showing only their own productions, and charging for it. They would, um, they're going to get the reach and more money for that matter simply by financing the production and selling it to an actual broadcaster who knows what they're doing. Um, anyway, sorry about
Wow,
rabbit
wow,
rabbit hole,
yeah.
rabbit hole again here actually,
But
but yeah, I guess here it's very much the same with virtual reality solutions in some
it's the
ways.
new
I
model, the
forget.
new business
Yeah,
model, yeah.
yeah, you really, you can't have, you know, people just can't subscribe to all these things. All they're going to do is
It
subscribe to none
yeah,
of them
there's a
because they
sense,
can't make up their mind.
yeah, that, it's going to reach a breaking point and it just can't stand to have that many many
Players.
that many players, yeah. Yeah, something will
I
have
mean,
to break.
what the hell is Apple doing moving into television anyway? Or Amazon or whatever. You can understand how something like Netflix gets started because it's the old video rental shop. moved into the modern age. But of course they now make their own. It just, if they want to diversify and move into making TV programs, all well and good if they think they've got the aptitude for it. But to actually create an app and then exclusively offer your thing via your own service that people have to subscribe to, no, it just doesn't click to me. If there's two out of 10 Apple TV programs I'd like to watch, I prefer to watch them on a channel that I already watch regularly, and would hope that that channel buys in those programs. Um, if they don't, so so maybe another channel will. But I don't know. It's you don't get me going. You know what I'm like when I'm sinking into moaning territory.
I won't. I
Right.
won't. I promise.
I moved on to VRScout.com, where we
Very
have
good.
some
Very good.
news. It says Magic Leap has opened programs to extend support to developers. No new headset things from Magic Leap, although I did read somewhere, I think we covered this the previous week, that Magic Leap are working on a cheaper pair of glasses.
Well, that could be.
So,
Yeah.
because they are very expensive at the moment. Um, but they're actually giving away hardware to developers and funding, mostly to enterprise customers, of course. So they're really working on getting the content for their platform and spreading the existence of their
Oh,
platform
very good.
around.
Yep.
So yeah, and the results are good anyway, although as I say, expensive. So I read more about that at vrscout.com. Okay, back to virtuality reporter. .com again, three words squashed there, virtualrealityreporter.com. The XR Association, which is the voice of the XR manufacturers, have released an update to their developers guide. Like many industries, basically, or that would be the people that are making VR headsets and the major VR kit do actually have a sort of trade association of their own where they sort of talk behind the scenes. Clearly, they don't do enough talking to talk of start, on things like compatibility. The other thing I heard recently to do with compatibility is that they want to have a universal charging plug, and most people have actually agreed that this, like a USB-C or something. And of course, Apple, of course, have decided that no, 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 this will not do. They have to have
Not
their own.
Apple. Not Apple.
Yeah, no, yeah. Apple, no, Apple will not partake.
They will
They
not
their
partake.
devices have to have their own charging system,
Yeah.
lest anything go wrong or be snuck in. So it's the same story of monopolization or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a developers conference. Their guide. I mean, there's nothing here. It's really just announcing that it's here and what the developers guide is and contains and stuff. So go to virtualityreporter.com for that one.
Anyone who's
Right.
needed a power supply and asked a friend, "Hey, can you lend me your charging cable?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're Apple. Oh, never mind."
Yes. In fact, actually, there was a scene on some TV program I saw in the last couple of days, which
Yeah.
was it wasn't just that; it had consequences. I
Ah. Uh
can't
huh.
remember what it
Oh,
was,
okay.
but
Life and death
it,
consequences,
it,
no
it,
doubt.
it was the fact. Oh, yeah, somebody in the story urgently needed to charge their phone.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a comedy or gag thing. It was simply that, unfortunately, they weren't able to because the person they were trying to borrow was the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
wrong wrong kind. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Techradar.com. So that's tech for technology, radar for the thing that airplanes use. They go beep beep beep, and yeah, all one word. So techradar.com. VR's future is in arcades, not the living room. I've said it
Oh, I
before and
saw
I'll
that
say it
headline.
again. And we've seen it in action. Yep. But VR arcades are getting seriously fun. Play, play, gosh. Las Vegas. VR, here we come. Something. Shooting zombies is a gaming tale as old as time.
Mm.
Getting to do it in virtual reality has been a staple of the medium over the last few years. But doing it in a free roaming VR arcade where you can run around simulated warehouse and courtyards with a team of trigger finger players without wires restricting you to certain spots in the room is a whole other experience. and they had a chance to visit an arcade here in London called Navtar or Navrot Navrta. Um, they've got in they're in London. They've also got four setups in the Netherlands, Holland, and they're bringing more to London too. Let's have a quick click there. This tells us where in London it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're not telling me much at all until I scroll down. Choose your experience. What to expect. Locations. So, well, well, their head office is in Ealing, but it doesn't say where in London the bloody place you're booking for is. So, so much for that. Looks not cheap. Right. Yeah. Anyway, the truth is probably in that headline. And there's not, well, there's a reasonable amount to read there if you're interested in out of home VR, which is really where the action is, as you probably gather. Right, moving on. So that's, oh, by the way, that was techradar.com in case you missed it. Right, now, I did say, oh yeah, this was from this morning, virtualrealitytimes.com. They've just got a post saying five of the most important AR, VR, and MR events in 2020.
Hmm.
Just so you know, I actually counted them: number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, and number six, and number seven, and number eight, number nine, number 10. What happened to five? They anyway. It's a plus point actually. A nice big long list for you to look at there and maybe see if there's anything near you or in happening somewhere where you want to go anyway, for example, or just something that's so essential you got to get there, and it goes way up to November and stuff at the end of the year. So despite the title, that is not five of the most important. It seems to be a pretty comprehensive list of what they think is the most important. And I'm pressing a button saying I'm here, but that is not good enough. Am I there, James?
Yeah, you're not there. I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Kindly, the grid we are filming on are extremely rude.
We
I mean,
just passed an hour of
unbelie-
recording time.
unbelievably rude.
Yeah.
You're there, you're doing something really important, and then they tell you you've got to bugger off. Or no, they kick you out, and then you've got to go through logging in again. That is not the way to work. That is not the way to work. It's very bad news from them there. Okay, virtual reality times, three words altogether, as it were, for you there. And yeah, that was just today, February 16th, five of the most important AR, VR, MR events of 2020. But as I said, it's not five, it's about 500 by the look of it. Okay, now I mentioned earlier on we will be coming back to education. Um, this has been in the Twitter sphere and all over the place for months now. I actually sent this link to Kevin at Virtual World's Best Practices and
Mm-hmm.
Joyce at Avacon and stuff today. They haven't got back to me at all. So I don't. I suddenly, when I saw this, I just wondered if anybody actually knew about it because starting tomorrow, the Educators in VR International Summit starts. Now it lasts 6 days with around 150 round the clock hours, and hopefully it's not going to take me 150 hours to just teleport back up to our stage up top there. Let me see. Right, sit here. Yay, I'm
There you
back.
are. Yep.
It could be
That was
worse. In
good.
fact,
Yep.
it's a straight login. Right. Okay. Um, so I know that in OpenSim here, and especially in Second Life, for example, social VR platforms, but there's a lot of education, a lot of educators. In Second Life alone, there's not only the best practices in what is it? Virtual Reality
In
Conference. There's
Virtual
the
World's best practices in education.
yeah, Virtual World's Best Practices Conference, but also the Education Roundtable and a whole load of
Right.
things, the
Right.
language learning people, you name it.
Visti,
And
Isti. Yep. Lots.
Yeah, yeah. So it surprises me that none of them, bar a couple of people, are really evident here because this is 6 days. It's been advertised as taking place across a load of different virtual platforms, though in reality it seems to be Alt Space, Immerse. Well, we'll come to that as I come down here. Um, Anyway, it starts tomorrow and goes on all week and next weekend too, basically. And a diverse range of over 150 speakers, etc. Um, I'm going to scan right down here, right to the times are Seattle, Los Angeles at the moment, which is PST, but I mean, it is actually all over the thing. Right, it is now actually listed as only hosted on four places. It's in AltSpace VR, Engage, Rumi, and Mozilla Hubs. Oh, sorry, and Somnium Space. So that's only the final event, from what I gather. But the page we're on, by the way, is educatorsinvr, or one word.com. That's all you need. Educatorsinvr.com. And then it's the front page, so you don't even need the events tab as such. Sadly, it doesn't link to, you can't link it into Google Calendar, everything. So to really investigate, you've got to be here. Uh, I was thought I thought for a long time, look at this, that they hadn't worked out what venue it was going to be, but in fact, ASVR is actually Alt Space VR, and as you can see, that's the opening. Three things there. Then there's a thing in Roomy. Then there's something in two things in Engage. Then back to Alt Space. Alt Space really takes over here. It's a bit like virtual world's best practices in education a few years ago. Basically it all happened in Second Life, but there were a couple of things, just to prove the point that happened in other platforms. Uh, which is quite fun, if you're up to jumping around. Tom Furness is giving what I guess is a spotlight event. I guess that's the equivalent of a keynote for them. That's at 3:30 Pacific time tomorrow, which is terrible. I think it's about 11 at night here, but we'll see. That might be one worth. I do have a problem with this. Is Altspace I can go to in my Oculus Go, and I can also go in on on the desktop here under Windows, and it may even be through that Steam thing or something. So getting there is no problem, but I've never been entirely happy in that environment. And to me, um, it's not really that immersive, and the avatars particularly aren't particularly immersive. But I will go to some of these just to check it out, so to speak, because if they're doing something this big, they may have made some influence on the set up the avatars or something. Okay, as you can see, virtual languages, tools and engage. Ask me anything. A panel of spatial experts that doesn't say who. That's in another platform. I haven't even tried yet, called Rumi. I tried to go there earlier. There is no Mac client, so I will have to get it in Oculus Quest by the look of it. Not Quest, Oculus Go. Which this is good for education, of course. The Oculus Go is the cheap headset, so you don't need the really high expensive thing. Languages, diversity, general topics. You can see medical and science, corporate, covering quite a few things. I'm actually scanning down here for the actual speakers. There's a couple of speakers I did. David McDermott, I recognise he'll be doing it from Engage. Content creation. Um, Caitlin Krauss, presence and mindfulness with a dose of neuroscience. Yeah, that should be fun. She's doing it in Engage as well. Um, Diversity and stuff. Um, Charlie Fink is one of the major bloggers, setting the table for the next decade in XR. XR here really is VR plus the AR, all the other stuff, reality variants. Um, Maybe VR should stand for variant reality. No, anyway, moving down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Learning and living in the metaverse. Kalila. She might be Kalila. She might be one of the people that was at High Fidelity. I can't be sure about that. Um, okay. Oh, NASA, computer science, medical, VR, global medical education. There's a hell of a lot here. As I'm sure you agree. You're on the fringes of education, aren't you? Good, James. So you can
Yeah,
probably
fringe is about right. Yep.
you can get music therapy for people with quadriplegic. I can never get my name around that. Caitlin Krause again on diversity. Who else is looking for? There's somebody. Oh, we're only on Wednesday. Let me go head on down. Um, I mean, I'd love to see us do an open sim conference or even virtual best practices for that. Oh, David McDermott. Oh no, there's some people are doing two, as you can probably tell. Um, okay. Um, I'm getting silent, aren't I, while I'm
Yeah.
scrolling through
Yep.
this? I guess you can see me scrolling, though whether you can see the text, folks, we can have.
Might be
Oh yeah,
readable. Yep.
Kent Bai is doing a talk. His Voices VR, of course, the landscape of XR education, etc. Um, so another familiar name. Um, Amy Hedrick sounds very familiar, though. Um, oh, Laurie Lamley. I think she has done Second Life of best practices in education. Um, possibly the only presenter here who I think has been in any of the more developed worlds that we call social VR, like Second Life, OpenSim, whatever. Um, so her name stood out for me there, and yeah, scrolling down, it's a long list. Um, Somebody I mentioned earlier, actually, who's made a bit of a mess this week, from Engage, social libraries. Um,
So now I
yep.
see the name. All right.
Oh, yes, you do, don't you? So, yeah. Anyway, person non grata at the moment, but I guess he'll still be on something like this. Of course, the wonderful thing of seeing all this lineup is that these people aren't having to travel anywhere to do it.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
just logging into a virtual platform and presenting, which is why it can be, so big. I am disappointed that they don't have. Well, actually, two things. I'm disappointed that there's nobody for OpenSim or even, grids that are involved in education presenting here, or Second Life for that matter, but also disappointed in another way in that nobody has actually, forget the presenting, nobody's actually chosen to use OpenSim or Second Life as the platform to hold the event. You know, these platforms that are being used are not exactly the most tried and tested for volume audiences. Um, so it's just a bit disheartening to think that our favourite platform is one where even Second Life, Walled Garden, is much more compelling and immersive than any of the ones they've chosen to do it in, are being used. Not totally. I mean, Engage is pretty good, although there's not that many from Engage. But anyway, we will see during the week. I'll be popping into a little few of these things over the week.
It's
Um,
VR.
uh,
I suspect a lot of people want to participate in VR, and OpenSim and Second Life don't do VR.
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is true. Um, yeah, educators in VR could be referring to VR, the headset, the hardware,
Yep.
rather than VR, the concept.
Right.
Right. Yeah. To me, OpenSim is VR. Um, because it's a virtual reality platform. It's a social virtual world. It's just because they're now trying to reinvent the VR to apply to things that need expensive hardware is not right in my opinion. VR is any virtual reality environment, however you get into it. So the better, more ways you can get into it, the better. But anyway, I'm running. I'm getting
Is
into
that
phew,
would
phew,
that be
phew.
opinionating?
I think it would be
I think it
opinionating
would be
anyway. Yeah,
opinionating.
it's
Yep.
opinionating, not rabbit holing, just
Just
opinionating.
opinionating.
Yeah, just opinionating. Okay, that's about it. I'm just going to quickly help out. I know there are two things here in Metaworld News' account. Oh yeah, the Hive with Navar. Oh, this again actually is Alt Space VR. Um, oh yeah, there's the acclaimed venue called the Hive that has just reopened in Alt Space VR. I do include some of these in Metaworld News' kind of thing because I put some events in there. Um, yeah, they got social media channels and it's a Friday event, so there won't be another one toward the end of the week. Put that one away again. And oh yeah, Tangle Grid. This is a hypergrid
Oh yeah.
enabled open simulator grid. And Tangle Periodical, they call it, just came out this week with lots of news about what's new. We covered the Sci-Fi Expo last week. I mean, that's actually been open a week or two now. Um, but they're just basically uh, Ms. Kling. Whoa, what's her, I can't remember her first name. I've had
Leslie.
her on last show. Leslie Kling, that's it. Yeah, this is basically just a little newsletter and telling you to keep up with Facebook, MeWe, Twitter, etc. as well. So, yeah, what's new for Tangle Grid? And that indeed is the end of this. And yeah, that's the end of it. Finally, finally. I mean,
Wow.
we've
Wow.
had a long week.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been on a while. So, well, it's not that bad. We've had worse, especially as it started at 10 past. Hour and a quarter, I think we've been on air. Not too bad at all, really.
Yep.
Although it's hardly the quickest of news headlines show, is it really, folks? But how could you can ask all you want, but how can I possibly get that into a 5 minute soundbite? Really? It's not as though I've been diddling and dawdling or rabbit holing and opinionating, is it? Well,
Not much.
not
Not too
much. No,
much, right?
not too much. Anyway, that's it for this week. James, any thoughts?
Um.
A lot of stuff there actually
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
it's
My only thought was earlier on in the program about virtual reality and health, and the question of the article being, does virtuality help learn about health? And I at our university in here in Madison, Wisconsin, I've seen a lot of really fantastic demonstrations of virtual reality used to train health professionals, and I think it's
ah,
extremely effective. And so for me, there's really no question. Virtual reality has a really profound influence on giving students experience. And the phrase I heard recently was learning without consequence. And I
yeah.
think that's very important. I think it frees up a learner to make more mistakes without actually risking patient
Oh, I was
lives.
just say there is a consequence because you can still fail. And in fact, you learn more
And
by,
you learn from your consequence.
every
Right,
fail is a win.
right.
They say, don't they?
Yep.
It's just another lesson learned. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And they mentioned the mine, mine sweeping and firefighting and stuff
Hmm.
like that, not over and beyond medical uses. It's absolutely perfect for a lot of that stuff. And I think ultimately it should be on a rudimentary sense, it should be, not just for training students and medical professionals, but the medical profession interacting with their clients,
Hmm.
with the public.
Yeah, social aspects. Right.
Yeah, I mean, some doctors already will do Skype calls with you instead of you just telephoning a reception. You can book
Hmm.
an appointment on Skype or something. Ideally, you could, at some point meet in a virtual room, and if you've got, I mean, things like my Apple Watch and phone can have enough data that could possibly be piped into a virtual representation like an avatar, so that there will be, I don't know, maybe the a doctor could um, measure my weight and waist or something virtually
Hmm.
because the data from the real me will be being piped into the avatar and synchronized.
Yep.
Um, Maybe you could maybe do things like an eye test. There could be in a virtual thing, and I could be made to stand on a red line virtually
Hmm.
and read the letters on the wall. and that would be just the same as in real life, depending on how far away from it you are. So I think there are actually a lot of, they're just the kind of things that, if you go to accidents and emergencies, so be it, you probably need to. But, you don't necessarily need to go to a clinic or a hospital department or something for some lightweight stuff. You can avoid the traveling and the time wasting and both parties, not only you, the patient, but also, it can take the weight off the hospital, the clinic itself in
Hmm.
terms of, making appointments and all the paperwork. Um, I don't know, just towards something more efficient,
Hmm.
not just fancier and more immersive and more effective, but just more efficient for everybody.
Right.
I imagine it would be a money saving move ultimately. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. So it's just funny to me, when articles come up that ask a question that really already has an answer.
yeah, yeah, that is true. A
Hmm.
lot of, I mean, I sometimes read out a news item and I think, yeah, it's only point in me reading this out. We've had it's
Right. Right.
so much like the news from here, then yesterday, last week, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't cover the same thing twice as a rule, but there can be many things that are almost the same. They're just different companies or different pieces of kit or different software. Doing the same thing.
Yep.
Anyway,
Well, very good.
okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. So
Hmm.
we will be back same time, same place
We're
next week.
coming
All
back.
goes according
Okay.
according to plan. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I will be endeavouring to stay afloat one way or another.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Um, um, and I don't think that where I am, I'll be sinking. Maybe I should make
Just your fellow citizens.
maybe I should wake up in the morning and start build myself a little boat to put outside the window just in
Hmm.
case.
Hmm.
Yeah, don't know, but no, I think it's safe to say we'll be back same time, same place. And the other thing, of course, is we ain't going to get the coronavirus being in virtual reality.
Ah, that's
It
true.
can't. It can't be. I can't transmit it from my hand to James's.
Yeah.
Not that I have it.
Yeah. I've been
It just
swayed.
doesn't happen. And
Yeah. I wanted to go. There's a Comic Con in Chicago, which is not
yeah,
far from where I live, and I was thinking that would be a great time, but I wasn't really thrilled about immersing myself in the possible virus
yeah. Well,
situation.
anywhere people are traveling a long way to get to, or you have even travelled through an airport without going
Yeah.
anywhere
Yeah.
near one of the obvious foods.
No,
Yeah,
I, 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 I can't
and
believe I'd be so petty as to be afraid, but
mm.
who wants to
And again,
experience that?
it's the perfect thing for virtuality. We just can't,
Yeah. Yeah.
just talking about the health side of it and everything else. I mean, to be honest, I really hate going to my doctor. It's a shared clinic. There's several doctors and a waiting room and the nurses and things, and let alone a hospital, because there are more germs in those
Oh,
places
the
than out of
hospital's
them.
full of sick people.
Yeah, and they don't, wiping down floors with disinfectant and making sure everything looks spotlessly clean is not, anything that's a virus. Germs, maybe they can minimise, but anything that's a virus, they stand a chance. And the number of I'm getting older now, so I get croakies and sore throats and things a little bit, but I've
Yeah.
never really been a person who got colds or got ill. And looking back on my life, the only time I ever got seriously ill was when I visited a hospital because I picked up something in the damn place. And occasionally the old bug on the London Underground, which
So ironic,
I hate
right?
going on that too. If you keep yourself to yourself and go out and stick to the fresh air, um, and avoid congregating in large spaces, especially with a lot of, travellers and stuff, yeah, um, you're not really very likely to catch anything. I mean, there are obviously some people around who just are so stupid. um, I'm thinking one person in particular. It is a trail of used. I always know where they are because there's a trail of used Kleenex It's like
Oh,
it's like leaving breadcrumbs to follow. There are some people that are just very irresponsible
right.
um,
Yes.
in that respect, and also if I go into a supermarket or something, it's not that the supermarket is necessarily crowded. I'll choose fairly non-crowded hours, but I'll get to the checkout, and the person behind the checkout is clearly ill, but can't afford to take a day off or didn't want to or
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
so they'll be sniveling and blowing their nose and spreading germs like mad. And I kind of think, well, this supermarket should have stopped that person coming in because they're
Mm.
spreading,
Mm.
they're spreading germs to their customers. But
Mhm.
no, they just don't. And the manager is probably just as bad. He'll catch it and then he'll keep coming in, and
Oh man.
it's no wonder these things go round, so to
Oh,
speak, and also
true.
keep going for a long while because
Mhm.
there's always people doing that sort of thing. And it's also totally criminal, of course. That somebody can be sacked for taking too many days off when they are actually ill. But
Right. Right.
um, a little bit of thought goes a long way,
Mhm.
as
Agreed.
they say. Still, yeah. Anyway, so
Well, stay
oh, are we?
dry.
So we're still on air, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I'm thinking.
I was
Right.
just following
Yes,
up, right?
folks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But rabbit hole, procrastination, opinionating. You name it. You can't get me off this show. You can't get me off this show successfully, can you? Right, as I said, we'll be back same time, same place. Actually, it was your fault for saying, "Will I still be
That's my
floating?" Or
fault. That's my
yeah,
fault
yeah.
this time.
Um, for now, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him if he stays
Okay,
dry.
it's goodbye from the two of us, and we will return same time, same place next week. Meanwhile, have a good one. Bye bye.